and a very warm welcome. I am Gushin Galan and you're watching Firstpost. In the next 2 minutes, I get you the top 40 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will sign a historic trade deal with the UK today. Prime Minister Modi met with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer after receiving a grand welcome from the Indian diaspora in London. As part of the deal, the UK will offer duty-free access to 99% of Indian items. Prime Minister Modi will discuss other issues of global importance with his British counterpart Keir Starmer. The White House has strongly denied reports linking President Donald Trump to Epstein files. A spokesperson labelled the claims a continuation of fake news stories propagated by political opponents. The response comes after the Wall Street Journal reported that Trump's name appeared multiple times in DOJ records, and US Attorney General Pam Bondi briefed Trump about his name listing in May. An Iranian Navy helicopter confronted a US destroyer in the Gulf of Oman. Iranian state media reported that the helicopter dispatched by Iranian forces flew over the USS Fitzgerald and ordered it to change its course. The US warship allegedly threatened to target the Iran helicopter during the encounter. Iranian Air Defense Forces declared the helicopter fully protected by Iran's integrated defense system. The US warship eventually retreated southward. Ukraine and Russia swapped prisoners of war amid peace talks in Turkey on Wednesday. Over 1,000 Ukrainian soldiers returned home under this agreement. However, there was no progress on a complete truce. Ukraine pushed for a direct meeting between Zelensky and Putin, while Moscow only suggested brief ceasefires. A passenger plane carrying at least 43 individuals disappeared from radar in Russia's far eastern Amur region. The Antonov-24 aircraft was en route to Tynda when contact was lost. Russia's emergency ministry later confirmed that Mi-8 helicopter spotted the burning fuselage of aircraft in a remote area. According to reports, at least 49 people have died. Thai and Cambodian soldiers exchanged gunfire along a disputed border area on Thursday after a landmine blast injured over 5 Thai soldiers on July 23. Thailand closed border crossings and expelled Cambodia's ambassador. Meanwhile, Cambodia responded by recalling its envoy and downgrading ties. Tensions have grown since May when a Cambodian soldier was killed in an armed confrontation. North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un supervised an artillery drill to test attacks on enemy targets. The military exercise took place in a coastal area on Wednesday. It was meant to check how troops respond to sudden threats. Hamas has submitted its official response to a 60-day ceasefire proposal put forward by Israel. This follows over 2 weeks of indirect negotiations mediated by Qatar. Hamas released its conditions via Telegram. It included amendments related to the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza and specific maps of Israeli military withdrawal zones and guarantees towards a permanent cessation of hostilities. Israel confirmed receipt of the response and stated it is being reviewed. French President Emmanuel Macron and First Lady Brigitte Macron filed a defamation lawsuit in the US on Wednesday. They sued right-wing American podcaster Candace Owens over false claims about Brigitte Macron's gender. The lawsuit said Owens ran a campaign to humiliate them and boost her fan base. European Union leaders met Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing for talks addressing trade, climate change and ongoing global conflicts. While marking 50 years of diplomatic relations between the EU and China, EU leaders pushed for greater trade reciprocity and raised concerns about China's stance on Russia's invasion of Ukraine and its growing trade surplus with Europe. Chinese President Xi acknowledged the talks as a critical historical juncture, urging both sides to focus on common ground. In climate news, at least 10 firefighters died and over 14 were injured in a wildfire in central Turkey on Wednesday. According to officials, at least 24 firefighters were trapped when strong winds suddenly changed direction. The fire broke out in the district of Eskişehir province According to the Agricultural Minister of Turkey, at least 7 wildfires were still burning across central and western provinces. Extreme heat has pushed water levels to a decade low in Serbian reservoir. Lake Gruza nearly dried up as temperatures soared up to 35 degrees Celsius and rivers ran dry. According to a climate activist, the situation is now alarming and unstable. This is the third heat wave of this summer in Serbia. Environmental groups called for urgent action to protect water sources in the region. In Brazil, over hundreds of activists rallied against oil drilling in Amazon. They gathered in Belém to protest ahead of COP30 climate summit. The protesters called for more indigenous voices and a ban on drilling in protected lands. According to reports, state oil giant Petrobras still awaits permission to drill near Amapá. Meanwhile, environmentalists warn the area is too fragile for oil projects. The International Court of Justice ruled that countries could be made to pay for climate damage. According to the world's top court, the states that fail to cut fossil fuel use or limit emissions could be held responsible. The court also added that governments must also control pollution from private companies. However, the ruling is advisory but carries strong legal weight. According to a US-based study in Egypt, at least 7,000 buildings in Alexandria were found unsafe due to rising sea levels. Coastal erosion caused salt water to seep under homes and damage foundations. The study added about 40 structures are collapsing each year due to erosion. The government plans to demolish over 7,500 structures and build new homes. Scientists warn of rising sea levels in the region due to climate change. On to business and tech news now. Asian shares rallied earlier today while the Australian dollar touched an 8-month high boosted by strong quarterly earnings, reports and growing optimism on trade. Japan's Topix index surged to a record high following new records on Wall Street overnight after a trade deal with the US sparked hopes of further agreements to avoid wider tariffs. South Korea's finance ministry said talks with the US to avoid tariffs were postponed after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent faced scheduling conflict. The 2+2 meeting was meant to finalize a deal before President Trump's 25% tariffs on South Korean imports take effect on August 1. Seoul's Kospi index pared early gains as auto stocks like Hyundai dropped on the news of the delayed talks. Tesla shares fell nearly 5% on Wednesday after CEO Elon Musk warned of a few rough quarters ahead, blaming cuts to EV subsidies under the Trump administration. Tesla had posted its worst sales decline in over a decade, with quarterly revenue dropping 12% year-on-year. Musk said the company was pushing towards self-driving ride services and hoped revenues from self-driving software would pick up next year. But investors remain concerned about Musk's growing political distractions. Mattel cut its annual revenue projections for this year after Barbie sales fell in North America and global trade uncertainty hit demand. The toy maker reported a 6% drop in sales in the second quarter, with North American revenue sliding 16% as retailers delayed inventory decisions. The company also expected lower profit for this year and said tariffs were weighing on its profit margins, despite plans to offset costs through price hikes. Payments firm PayPal announced a new global platform, partnering with India's UPI operator and others to enable cross-border payments for businesses. The platform, called PayPal World, is set to connect local payment systems, including Brazil's Mercado Pago and TenPay Global. India said UPI's integration into the platform would help expand its digital payment model across global markets. Pernod Ricard had agreed to sell its Imperial Blue whiskey brand to India's Tilaknagar Industries in a deal valued at $486 million. The deal comes as Pernod Ricard was restructuring its global portfolio and reallocating resources towards brands like Chivas, Absolute and Royal Stag in high-growth markets like India. President Trump unveiled a sweeping artificial intelligence strategy promising deregulation, infrastructure, expansion and global leadership. The administration was pushing to boost big tech and outpace China, while sidelining environmental rules and calling for patriotism in the Silicon Valley. Donald Trump signed multiple executive orders to fast-track the plan, calling the AI race a test unlike anything since the space age. Alphabet boosted its capital spending plans to $85 billion this year after massive demand for its cloud computing services pushed sales higher. Google Cloud sales surged nearly 32% in the second quarter, beating Wall Street's expectations and driving overall revenue to $96 billion. CEO Sundar Pichai said customer demand outpaced supply and that capital expenditure would rise even more next year. A U.S. federal court has rejected claims that Apple misled customers over iCloud storage. The appeals panel ruled that users received exactly what was promised under Apple's paid plans. One customer had argued she paid for 200 gigabytes, expecting it to be added to her free 5 GB storage. But judges said Apple had been clear that the paid plan replaced, not stacked, the free data. A new report suggests Elon Musk's brain implant company Neuralink plans to implant its chips into 20,000 people annually by 2031 and expects to generate over $1 billion in yearly revenue. The plan reportedly involves running 5 large clinics and offering 3 versions of its brain implant device. Neuralink began human trials last year after receiving breakthrough designations from US regulators for 2 of its devices. Moving to sports news now, we begin with chess. Divya Deshmukh has become the first Indian woman to reach the FIDE World Cup final. The 19-year-old defeated former world champion Tan Zhongyi in the semi-final in Georgia. This also means that Deshmukh has qualified for candidates tournament. In cricket, India finished at 264 for the loss of 4 wickets on day 1 of the 4th Test match against England in Manchester. England had won the toss and put India to bat first. Sai Sudarshan was the top scorer with 61 runs. Meanwhile, Indian cricketer Rishabh Pant was rushed to a hospital in Manchester yesterday after he suffered a gruesome foot injury during the match. The batter was driven off the field in an ambulance after a yorker from Chris Wokes struck his right toe. The Indian batter has been ruled out of the series. In football, Spain defeated Germany 1-0 to reach the Euro 2025 final. It will now face England in Sunday's match. The match marks a chance for redemption for England, which was left heartbroken after the 2023 World Cup final. Marcus Rashford has joined Barcelona on an initial 12-month loan from Manchester United. The Catalan Giants have the option of signing him permanently in 2026 for $41 million. After joining the club, the England forward said Barcelona feels like home. The 27-year-old is the first English player to join Barcelona since Gary Lineker in 1986. Liverpool has completed the signing of Hugo Ekitike. Eintracht Frankfurt striker struck a deal worth $92 million with $81 million guaranteed and $11 million in add-ons. Ekitike will fly out to join Liverpool's pre-season tour of Asia later this week. The Mexican Football Federation, or the FMF, have fined Javier Chicharito Hernandez. The body has also launched a probe into his controversial remarks. The former Manchester United striker posted social media videos alleging that football authorities promote sexist stereotypes. In tennis, world number 1 Yannick Sinner has reappointed fitness coach Umberto Ferrara. The two had parted ways after Sinner tested positive for a banned substance last year. Ferrara left the Italian team last August. In badminton, HS Pranoy has been knocked out of the round of 16 in the China Open. He was defeated by Cho Tin-chan 18-21, 21-15, 21-8. The Taiwanese player will next face a Thai player in the quarterfinals. In Formula One, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has signed the George Russell and Kimi Antonelli are Mercedes' first choice for next season. He appeared to rule out an immediate move for Red Bull's Max Verstappen, who is a 4-time Formula One champion. And finally, in entertainment news, Madame Tussauds has unveiled 13 new Taylor Swift wax figures in a global tribute to the pop icon's record-breaking Eras tour. Deemed the museum's most ambitious project in 250 years, the lifelike statues, styled with help from designers like Versace, Zuhair Murad and Roberto Cavalli, are now on display in 13 cities including New York, London, Sydney and Shanghai. The much-anticipated Michael Jackson's biopic titled Michael will now hit theatres worldwide on April 24 next year. The film stars Jafar Jackson and aims to offer an intimate portrait of the king of pop's rise to global fame. Lionsgate will handle US distribution with Universal and Kino Films covering international markets. Hulu hit Whodunit, Only Murders in the Building returns for its 5th season on September 9. This will happen with a triple episode premiere. This time, Charles Oliver and Mabel investigate the mysterious death of their doorman, diving into a tangled web involving billionaires, mobsters, and a rapidly changing New York. Legendary Mexican band Los Bukis received their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Wednesday. Frontman of the band dedicated the honor to immigrants and workers across the US, calling them the silent force of the service in the country. The band, formed in the early 1970s and reunited in 2021, was awarded the 2,817th star in the recording category. The annual pop culture extravaganza Comic-Con International officially kicks off in San Diego on Thursday, with a sneak peek offered to eager fans on Wednesday. Thousands are expected to flock to San Diego Convention Center, many in full cosplay, to attend panels, meet creators, and grab exclusive merchandise. The event, celebrating comics, TV, film, gaming, and more, runs through Sunday, July 27. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Gushin Galan, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow. Until then, stay informed and stay tuned to Firstpost.